Traditional Southwest techniques and preferences like building from adobe was a very practical and substantial way to build in those days.
Other dwellings soon appeared on the block where the Risques lived, and a number of them survive today. The Italianate Isaac Cohen house went up in 1882. Next door to it, at about the same time, the Swift house was built, though only the later rear addition to it, much remodeled, survives today. Dr. White, a dentist, built an office on Bullard in 1887, and a bit later built a house next door to it. On the corner of Texas and 6th Street stands a house that was originally the barn belonging to the Swifts. In 1913, Mrs. Swift, who was by then a widow, had it remodeled into a dwelling for renting. The work was done by that remarkable Silver City contractor, Elizabeth Warren, whose name is still to be seen on a number of sidewalks, which she also built around town. Finally, in that same year of 1913, the house on the corner of Texas and Kelly was constructed, or actually enlarged from an adobe shack, which was originally a wood storage shed and may have been as old as the Risque house. I live in the John Risque house now, and I'd like to show you what we think the original structure was like and some of the changes made by the Risques and later occupants. The floors were redone after I moved in, and during that reconstruction we found out that the house had been built on an unusually good site, and we also found out which parts of it are the oldest.
In the literally over 100 houses I've been in the Silver City downtown area, all the way up to E Street, paralleling Yankee Street, they're all headed to the big ditch. There's a clay seam down there somewhere. I can't tell you if it's 10 feet down or 70 feet down, but everything is moving downhill, and people who own houses on E Street, D, C, B, A Street are all looking at their downhill foundation and saying it's pulling away from the wall. It's probably been doing that for as long as the house was built.
Was there?
Yes, and this house fortunately didn't move any because it's literally on granite.
Remember that we found the original room of the house.
When we were doing our excavations, while we were digging out this excess dirt, we got down to one of the original rubble foundations, and you could see the threshold of the original.
The front door.
Oh my goodness!
The front door was right here.
And you could see where the door had been, and the next owner or the modifier left that right where it was and built right over the top of it with the second room.
Under the flooring, we found a few relics that had been lying there for more than a century, a tin plate, a broken mason's hammer, and a number of bones that may have been those of an elk. Notice how deeply the dirt has been excavated below this part of the floor. This earth was probably used to make the very adobes from which the wall was constructed, a sensible, economical style of building that's been used in the Southwest for centuries. When the Risques extended the house toward the east, they added an interesting feature.
And it pushed out into to one of the only bay windows to the east that I've seen in downtown Silver City. There very well may be several others, but this one is intact with its original woodwork.
And remember how wide those planks are?
The planks in the woodwork that's exposed in the bay window are unusually wide for the Silver City area.
The bay window originally looked out on a vacant expanse to the east. Its southeast-facing wing caught the early morning sun during the cold months. And by the way, the ancient Indian hut dwellers of this region did exactly the same thing. Their houses were often built with an opening to the southeast to catch early morning winter sun. So designing a house to make it energy efficient is a very old idea. It went out of fashion in the era of cheap energy, but now it's coming into its own again in Silver City and in other places as well.
We were hearing from not only home builders, but architects and the designers of homes and builders that there's an increased interest as the demographics change or as people understand more about the concepts of building and as the utility bills go up. It's just there's more information, I think, across the board about the benefits of building in a different way than we'd seen previously, and sort of the boom of, I don't know, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when there was a lot of frame housing going up and building changed, high vaulted ceilings. So.
In the new room, the Risques built a fireplace that was efficient in several ways. For one thing, its small front opening and shallow front-to-back dimensions improved its draft and minimized smoking. In fact, it was a sort of southwestern version of the famous Rumford fireplace that had been invented in the 1790s. Then there was the location of the fireplace and chimney, close to the center of the house, which not only makes it draw better, but also puts more of its heat where it's needed. And then there are the eyebrow windows in the interior walls, making it possible for heated air from the fireplace to pass into other rooms. Notice the thickness of those walls. That's very different from the thin plasterboard interior walls of most modern houses. Those adobe walls provide thermal mass that helps to stabilize the temperature indoors. When the fireplace has been going for a while, you can put your hand on any of the nearby interior walls and feel the accumulated warmth. And, by the same token, these walls help the house to keep cool in the summer weather. I try to help the cooling by growing a shade plant, like morning glories, on my south-facing wall every summer. We saw something about how the Risques had enlarged the house after they moved in. In fact, we think the original house may have been a two-room affair comprising this, the dining room, and a kitchen. But later additions have resulted in a 1,200 square foot house. That's still not huge, but it's more than adequate, and the rooms have a cozy feel to them that I like. Come with me on a brief tour. We're looking at the front parlor with its bay window and the fireplace and